Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues now. And make sure to stay tuned to catch me, Mike Gallagher, coming up at 9, only on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan, and in for Amy J. this morning is Kristen McQueary, she of the Tribune editorial board. And Kristen, your quick take, your hot take, as the kids say, if the year was 1987, on the summit meeting between Kim Jong-un and President Trump this week. The criticism of Trump was interesting as it came from some neocons of the conservative. Well, neocons by definition, conservatives that are more interventionists, as well as the left because they're the left. But was this progress? Was this a well thought out gambit by Trump to at least make this effort?
Well thought out, I'm not sure. I'm holding off on whether or not it's actually a success. But I'll tell you what I'm not bothered by. I'm not really bothered by his flattery. I suppose I'm supposed to be, of Kim Jong-un. If that's what it takes to kind of stroke an ego in order to denuclearize and get us to this point, I don't really find that terribly offensive. But I'm hearing a lot of pushback on him for that.
Right. I don't know that Trump has forgotten who Kim Jong-un is, even though he's buttering him up for the purposes of this framework to denuclearization that they established. Here's Trump with Brett Baer on Air Force One earlier this week.
This should have been done 10 years, 15, 20 years ago. This shouldn't be done now where they have an arsenal of nuclear weapons. This should have never allowed to get to this point. With that being said, Chairman Kim wants to resolve the problem because he knew that we weren't playing around. I wasn't playing around. He's not playing around. We have a very, I really say for a fairly short-term relationship because it was unbelievably hostile, the rhetoric. Rhetorically, it was unbelievably hostile. And I think we have a very good relationship. We understand each other.
I mean, for all of the compliments that occurred the day of the summit and in some exit interviews, as it were, let's not forget this is also the same guy who was ridiculing him, calling him Rocket Man,
right,
for most of his time as president of the United States. So it's a tactic. I don't know that it's a change of heart or a change of understanding about Kim Jong-un. But for more on this, we're pleased to be joined by our friend Jed Babbin, former United States Deputy Undersecretary of Defense, contributor to the Washington Times and the American Spectator. Jed, thanks for being with us again. Appreciate it.
Well, glad to be here. And one of these days we need to talk about the fact that neocons aren't conservatives, but that's for another day.
Yeah, okay. I'm just saying, neo-conservative. Yeah, but yeah, I get. I hear you. I hear you. Okay. All right, I hear you. What was your take in terms of the criticisms of Trump of conceding too much, like ending the quote-unquote war games, of being too complimentary? Was this a productive first meet? Is a framework for denuclearization a real possibility?
Well, I think that it was really too much to expect that anybody, whether it's President Trump or anybody else, could have done a lot more with Kim Jong-un in this first meeting. Mm-hmm. I think he did very well. I think he did give up a couple of things that he might not have gotten anything for, such as suspending the military exercises with South Korea. But we have to remember that thing, well, it's not quite a toggle switch. I mean, you can't just turn those things on and off. But a military exercise can be rescheduled real easy. So suspending them is no big deal, and we can unsuspend them almost immediately.
Well,
so I think he did well. I wish he hadn't praised Kim as much as he did. I mean, Trump has said, I can trust Kim. He really has changed. Well, no. So let's just see how it plays out. There are going to be several more meetings, I'm sure, and I am very skeptical about anything coming out of it, whether the North Koreans are going to denuclearize at all, I doubt. But we'll just have to see how it plays out.
Well, right. And so while Trump was being complimentary in some of these interviews with Stephanopoulos, with Brett Baer, at the same time, so concurrently, you had Mike Pompeo making clear that no sanctions are being relaxed. And
right.
And the only way we're going to deal, at a substantive level, is after we have verified that denuclearization is in process or complete. So, the kind of the criticism of Trump somehow giving away the store or ceding leverage to Kim Jong-un, I don't really see.
No, I think that's exactly right. And I think, when you have real grown-ups like John Bolton and Mike Pompeo sitting at the president's corner and saying, yeah, boss, maybe we could do this, but not that. I really don't have a lot of worry about any bad deal coming out.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. What was your take on, just switching gears a bit, on the IG report, FBI, and what were the biggest bombshells that you think were revealed?
Well, I tried to stay awake reading this thing, and I haven't gotten through all 600 pages. But it doesn't strike me as something that is at all unusual and as, quite frankly, interesting only insofar as the findings of bias. You have the issue of, well, we didn't find anybody saying in writing that we're going to go out and help Hillary or screw Trump. Well, but that does not relieve the FBI of the obvious bias that went on throughout the election and, quite frankly, still appears to be going on today. So the question is, how do you clean up the FBI? And that's a very, very big task. It's going to require firing a bunch of people. It's going to require not just training. I mean, they're out there saying, well, we're going to train everybody now on not being politically biased. Well, that's fine, but you have to do a lot more than that. You have to have leadership in place that is going to ensure that there is no political bias in anything the FBI does. And I don't think they can do that with their current leadership. I really sincerely don't.
Did you find that the report revealed something that was particularly different from your experience when you served in government, or has this kind of been a culture at FBI no matter which political party is in charge?
Well, I don't know. I was never in the Justice Department or the FBI. I sat across the river in the big five-sided puzzle palace. But the thing is, it struck me that having a culture in the FBI where people were routinely talking to the media when they shouldn't have been, accepting gratuities from the media like golf outings and free lunches and stuff like that, that is a severe cultural crisis within the FBI that has to be, again, dug into at a very basic level. And I think that's the big shocker for me, is that they were just blithely leaking to the media. And we've seen it, and we still see it. And there's still, I believe, there's still a great deal of political bias going on in the FBI, not just with respect to Trump, but with respect to actually revealing what they have done in respect to congressional requests for all sorts of oversight documents and testimony. The fact that they're trying to hide something right now and going to extraordinary lengths to hide it is a very telling fact about the whole Justice Department. It goes all the way up to Rod Rosenstein at least. And
so what about that? So what about the senior leadership of CIA, Brennan, of Justice, of the FBI at the end of the Obama administration, and obviously Hillary Clinton, too, as the Secretary of State turned a presidential nominee? What is sort of all of this that continues to drip out, and now in bigger drips with these huge reports? What does it say about what we should understand about the Obama administration and the rule of law?
Well, the Obama administration and the rule of law, as proven by these various investigations and as proven by the various revelations that continue to come out and will probably come out for the next 20 years, they were the most lawless and most corrupt, intellectually corrupt and politically corrupt administration we have seen since I don't know when. You have a situation where the intelligence branches were so corrupted by Obama, and you may not even remember this, pardon me, but there was a report that came out about a year and a half ago that, actually it's more than 2 years ago now, CENTCOM, Central Command, the intelligence analysts at Central Command were forced to change their conclusions because they did not match the President Obama's political conclusions. They didn't support his political plans.
Right.
And a general, a four-star general who was the commander of CENTCOM was removed over that. Lloyd Austin was fired, and he should have been. So that's the kind of thing you see not only in the military intelligence, you saw in the civilian intelligence agencies. The Obama administration was a totally politicized organization in places where politics shouldn't go, like the CIA, like the Justice Department, like all of the other branches.
Well, and
this is the kind of thing that you cannot easily route out, and I'll bet you there are about 75% of the people who were responsible for that politicization are still there.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things the IG report pointed out was it sort of caught Obama in a lie about what he knew and when he knew it with Hillary Clinton's private emails. You talk about in your most recent column Team Obama lying to Congress on money going to Iran for the 2015 nuclear weapons deal. Tell us a little bit about your latest piece.
Well, thank you. I wrote for the American Spectator last Monday that the fact that the Obama administration had the Treasury Secretary and an Assistant Secretary of the Treasury up there in Congress testifying that the Iran deal would not allow any use of the American banking system by Iran, and at the same time they were trying to grant licenses to American banks through this Office of Financial, pardon me, I don't remember the acronym stands for Office of Financial Access Control, whatever it is. OFAC was attempting to grant licenses to a Omani bank, to wash money for the Iranians through the American banking system. And the only reason it did not succeed, the only reason the scheme by the Obama administration didn't succeed, was the American bank said, hey, we're not doing this because we'll be liable under the sanctions law if we do. Mm-hmm. So the Obama administration was lying to Congress, trying to help the Iranians, and this is not the only way they tried to help the Iranians before the deal. Don't forget, they stopped a Justice Department investigation. I'm talking about Justice Department politicization and corruption. They stopped a Justice Department investigation of Hezbollah, the Lebanese Shiite terrorist proxy organization that runs for Iran, that Iran runs, really. They stopped an investigation of their drug trafficking, which impacted the United States, probably still does. The Obama administration didn't want anything to go against their idea of the Iran deal. And in doing so, they corrupted the Justice Department, they corrupted the Treasury Department, and again, we know so much about this, I can't imagine what else is going to come out now, because there's a lot more, I'm guaranteeing you, there's a lot more history of corruption from the Obama administration, in the Obama administration, that we don't even know about yet.
That scandal-free administration, yes. Jed Babbin, former U.S. Deputy Undersecretary of Defense, contributor to the Washington Times and the American Spectator. Jed, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
And you joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.